And I said, if it would help elect Alison, I would be happy to become a Kentucky taxpayer. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor and former Mayor Jerry Abramson for being here. Attorney General Conway, thank you very much. Senator Neal, former Governor Collins, my great friend John Y. Brown, Congressman Yarmouth, Mayor Fisher was here. I don't know if there's anything else I can say, but here's my closing argument. I love this state, and you did well when I was president. This is about two things. One is whether we're going into the future together or you're on your own. One candidate actually has an economic plan for shared prosperity. That's Alison. The other one is trying to win this race the way he's won so many. You may not like me, but you still got to vote against her. Now, since you don't want to vote against her, they've tried to kick her off the ballot and put the president on in her place. You know what this election's been about? Yep. All those tens of millions of dollars, with all the promise of Kentucky and the legitimate continuing problems. A man who has been here 30 years said, I'm sorry, I can't talk about your promise. I can't talk about your problems. I got to demonize her. Into the valley of Elah went Goliath and David. David turned out to be a girl and whipped him anyway. Go figure. Look, you think about, we're all having a good time up here, and I was just looking at Alison and marvel. I remember the first time she talked to me about doing this, and I said, you know they'll try to take your head off. She said, yeah, I know that. But until you've been there, you can't imagine. Every one of you, think what it would be like. Wondering if your friends or family had seen the latest piece of hate mail or hate ad or whatever. I mean, tens of millions of dollars. And the more they hit her, the stronger she got. The biggest recommendation I have for you is if you want a strong leader, you're looking at her because she stood up to everything they have thrown at her, and she's still standing. She is still standing. And I want to thank her great husband and her family for standing with her. Because I'm telling you, but now I want to tell you something serious. The reason you should vote for her is because she made this race about you. She's trying to give it back to you. This is what the race is really about. It's about trickle-down economics against middle-out economics. Whether you think the economy will grow more and help you more if we go back to the same old tired, failed economic policies of just cutting upper income people's taxes and walking away from the needs of working families. The working people of Kentucky have not had a champion in the Senate since Wendell Ford left. That's what you need. You need working people, middle-class people, and neither are poor people. Most poor people work. They work their hearts out, and they deserve a chance to work their way into the middle class and to give their kids a chance to do it. And when I was president, I reversed trickle-down economics. And if you compare those 8 years with the 12 years that went before, every part of the American economy did better. If you just take President Reagan's years, it's the first time we ever went to that trickle-down economic. Actually, the top 3 or 4% did a little better under him. But the second 20% did 25% better when we were there. The middle, 50% better. The next, more than twice as well. And listen to this. The bottom 20%, which includes more than 20% of the working families in Kentucky and Arkansas, their incomes grew 0.7% in 8 whole years in the 80s, and then 23.6% when I was there. Why am I telling you this? Because you need a champion. All the people who paid for those negative ads, where are they going to be Wednesday morning?
Crying their eyes out.
Yeah, they're going to be crying their eyes out. And if you don't make them cry their eyes out, they'll be back in Washington, D.C. to collect on their investment. They don't give a rip about you. So I am begging you, vote for what you're for. You want to grow the economy from the bottom up, we ought to raise the minimum wage. It'd be good for the economy. I know something about that. They're not right. If you want it, you should vote for her. If you don't, you can vote for him. You believe women ought to be paid the same amount as men for equal work? If you want it, vote for her. If you don't, vote for him. This is not really a matter of debate. Look at the evidence. The companies that do it grow faster, they have less turnover, higher productivity, and they make more money. Turns out doing the right thing by people and treating them decently turns out to be good economics. You want more people to go to college and not drop out because they think they'll never be able to pay the bill? You got to vote for her, not for him. She will lower interest rates on college loans. They support increasing them. And I could go through all these issues. After 30 years, her opponent never offered an economic plan. She went out, started with one. After going all over Kentucky and talking to people. You got to vote for what you're for. Read the paper this morning. The economy grew 4.5% for the last 3 months. Here's what's going on. We are finally coming out of the long, dark night of the financial crash in 2008. Been a long time, but in 150 years, it takes an average of 10 years to get over. 10 years just to get your jobs back. We got them back in America in 6. That's better than America's ever done, better than all these other rich countries have done in 150 years. All it means is we get to begin again. So you got to decide, are you going to give in to the same old tired strategy of saying, well, you may not like me, but you can't vote for her? No. Or are you going to say, hey, we can begin again. I think we'll grow together for a change. I think we'll all do well. I think we'll lift up everybody for a change. I'm going to tell you something. That is what this is about. Do not kid yourself. The reason all this money is poured into this state is that everybody who makes a living doing this knows the American economy is coming back, and they want to go back to trickle down, and we want to go back to helping you and giving you the future you deserve. Everybody in Kentucky who's willing to work for it. So vote for what you are for. Don't be blinded. Look, I grew up in a place not so different from Kentucky. I understand sports rivalries. I understand clan factions. I understand stirring up people before any kind of a fight between us and them. It is a dead bang loser in the modern world. What works in the modern world is developing the potential of all of our children without regard to their race, without regard to their income, without regard to where they live. That's what works in the modern world. So, I'm for her for 2 reasons. One is she stood up to the most amazing assaults in the United States, and every time they hit her, she came back stronger. And that's what you need in a leader. Politics is a contact sport and not for the faint-hearted. So you know she'll be able to stand up for you in Washington. But I'm also for her because she happens to be right on these issues. Now, here's my last sports metaphor. This is the greatest basketball state in America. You always have 2 great basketball schools, and sometimes you have even more than 2. Yes. This is one of those games where David walked on the court with Goliath. The lead shifting back and forth. We're down to the last 2 minutes. The person with the ball at the end of the game is going to win this. You got to make sure Alison's got the ball at the end of the game by getting every single solitary soul you know to go and vote and have a victory. Thank you, and God bless you.